In 2013, Tom Hanks had an unforgettable interaction with a young waitress in a Santa Monica diner that showcased his genuine kindness and respect. What started as a simple moment of empathy turned into a powerful reminder of how small acts of compassion can leave a lasting impact on someone's life. It was a warm afternoon in Santa Monica, California, when Tom Hanks, one of Hollywood's most beloved actors, walked into a popular diner to enjoy a quiet meal. The restaurant was bustling with activity, filled with customers enjoying their lunches, the clinking of silverware on plates, and the chatter of diners in the background. It wasn't unusual for Tom to be spotted in local eateries, as he was known for being low-key and approachable. But on this particular day, something special happened. Rebecca, a young waitress in her mid-20s, had been working at the diner for a couple of years. She had seen her fair share of busy shifts, rude customers, and the inevitable mistakes that come with waiting tables. But today was different. The lunch rush was in full swing, and Rebecca had been darting back and forth between tables, trying to keep up with the orders. Her hands were full, and as she maneuvered through the crowded restaurant, she tried to balance the weight of the heavy trays she was carrying. Then it happened. As she approached a table to serve a large meal, her tray suddenly slipped from her hands. Plates, glasses, and silverware crashed to the floor with a deafening noise. A few gasps from nearby diners could be heard as she stood frozen, her face flushing with embarrassment. She immediately bent down to pick up the pieces, trying to salvage what she could. Her heart raced. She could feel the eyes of the customers on her, and the pressure of the moment made her feel like she had failed. The rest of her shift seemed to stretch on endlessly as she worked to clean up the mess she had made. But the incident stuck in her mind. She kept replaying it in her head, feeling like she had just ruined the entire day. What happened next, however, would stay with Rebecca for the rest of her life. As she bent over, picking up the broken plates, she heard a voice behind her. It was calm, warm, and filled with reassurance. "Hey, no worries at all," the voice said. "It happens to the best of us." She turned around in surprise, and there, standing in front of her, was none other than Tom Hanks. Yes, the legendary actor who had been in some of the most iconic films of all time: Forrest Gump, Saving Private Ryan, Cast Away. And here he was, in front of her, offering words of comfort. Rebecca was taken aback. Here she was, a young woman trying to do her job and manage a simple mistake. And the world-renowned actor was telling her that it was okay. She expected him to brush it off, ignore her, or maybe even give her a disapproving look. But Tom Hanks wasn't like that. He was standing there, genuinely offering his support in a way that only someone who had a deep sense of empathy could. Tom smiled at her and said, "You're doing great. Really, don't worry about it. This stuff happens all the time. I've been there myself." The sincerity in his voice made Rebecca's anxiety start to fade. He could have easily walked away and pretended he didn't notice, but instead, he stood there with her, as if he genuinely cared about how she was feeling in that moment. She couldn't believe it. Not only had he acknowledged her mistake, but he had also shown kindness and understanding. The pressures of waiting tables, especially on a busy afternoon, could sometimes feel overwhelming. But Tom's simple words helped her feel seen, like she wasn't just a waitress serving food, but a person whose efforts were appreciated. He didn't treat her like an employee in a service role. He treated her like a human being. But Tom's kindness didn't stop there. After a few moments, he stepped back and went on with his meal. Rebecca, still in a bit of a daze, returned to her station, trying to gather herself and finish the rest of her shift. The rest of the afternoon passed in a blur, but she couldn't stop thinking about that brief interaction with him. The warmth of his words stayed with her, like a light that had been turned on in the darkness of her embarrassment. As the meal came to an end, Tom stood up to leave. Rebecca was busy attending to another table when she saw him get up, and she quickly tried to finish her tasks. But then, she heard the voice again, this time calling out to her. It was Tom Hanks, who was standing at the front of the restaurant, waiting for her to approach. Rebecca hesitated for a moment, wondering if she had somehow made a mistake. But as she walked toward him, Tom smiled and handed her the bill for his meal. At first, she thought it was just a routine exchange, but then she noticed something on the receipt. It wasn't the total amount of the meal or the tip. What stood out was the handwritten note that Tom had left for her. It read, "You're doing a great job. Keep it up." Rebecca felt her heart swell as she read the note. Not only had Tom acknowledged her efforts earlier, but now he had left a message that was personal and kind. It was as if he truly saw her. She had been struggling with her confidence that day, but Tom's words were exactly what she needed to hear. And then there was the tip. Tom had left a tip so generous that it nearly brought tears to her eyes. The amount wasn't just about the money. It was the gesture that mattered. It was a recognition of her hard work, her struggle, and her dedication to doing her job despite the pressure. Rebecca had always worked in the service industry, and while she had received tips before, this one felt different. It was more than just a monetary reward. It was an acknowledgement of her humanity. As she walked back to the kitchen, Rebecca couldn't help but feel deeply moved. Tom Hanks had shown her something more valuable than money. He had shown her that kindness and respect go a long way, especially in a world where people often go unnoticed. His actions that day would stay with her forever, reminding her that even in the most mundane of circumstances, there is room for compassion. The story quickly spread among her colleagues and friends, and it didn't take long for the entire diner to hear about what had happened. People were in awe of Tom's kindness, but for Rebecca, it wasn't about the fame or the recognition. It was about how a simple, unexpected moment had turned her entire day around. Tom had made her feel like she mattered, and in a world that often overlooks the service industry, that was a gift she would never forget. Word of the incident reached social media, and soon it became a viral story. People from all over the world praised Tom for his generosity and genuine respect for the workers in the service industry. It wasn't just his fame or wealth that made the moment so special. It was his authentic humanity, his ability to connect with another person on a personal level, and his willingness to go out of his way to make someone's day better. For Rebecca, Tom Hanks didn't just leave a tip that day. He left her with a renewed sense of self-worth and a reminder that kindness is something we can all offer, no matter who we are. It was a lesson in compassion, in treating others with dignity, and in finding the humanity in every interaction, no matter how small. In the years that followed, Rebecca would look back on that moment and remember how one simple act of kindness had the power to change the way she saw herself and the world around her. Tom Hanks had not only been a hero on the screen, but had shown her that true heroes are the ones who take the time to make others feel valued, respected, and cared for, no matter who they are or what their job might be.